Beau here, and welcome back to my channel. On this channel, we talk all about travel, and you just jumped right in the middle of our hostel series. So our first video was what is a hostel? Second video is why I love a hostel. Third video is why I hate hostels. So this video is why I love hostels, and it's going to be 10 points of why I love hostels. And at the very end, I'm going to tell you a story of basically kind of my first hostel stay and why I loved it so much. So let's get to it. Number one, it is easy to make friends. This is what hostels are for, is to make friends, and it's so easy. I mean, of course, like I'm actually an introvert, so I really don't like, so there'll be hostels that I'm very active in, and there's some hostels that I like kind of hide in the background and like, I just want to sleep in my bed and watch Netflix and like hide out for 24 hours. So, but it's so easy to make friends. Just pretty much say hi to people and they will invite you to go do stuff. And you can even talk to the front desk and they will actually like it's like not like blind dates, but it's basically like, in a sense, it's like they'll like be like, okay, well, so and so is going here, you should go there too. So yeah, number one, hostels are great to make friends at. Number two, the people you will meet, and definitely don't take this lightly at all. The people you will meet will absolutely blow your mind. You're going to have all different walks of life. And I know, so I grew up in the United States, and I've always heard the United States is like a melting pot, right? You have all these different people from coming from all different places, and it melts down. It's like a giant melting pot. I would say hostels are the exact same, if not even more extreme, because you actually have contact. If you're in a 50-person hostel, chances are you're going to have contact with everyone in that hostel. So you have people that are older, you have people that are younger, you have people that are extremely successful. You have videographers, you have marketers, you have people that run online businesses there. Like, it's just crazy. And then you have people that are there for 2 weeks. You have people that have been there for months. So all of a sudden you have all these people with all these different ideas. And just by visiting and stuff with people, I actually met a guy the other day that buys pallets from Amazon, like the return pallets, and then sells them on Facebook Marketplace and makes really, really good money. I'm not going to tell you where at or anything like that because I don't want to infringe on his business. But just by doing that, I actually kind of started like looking at that as a potential business opportunity because I was like, he was telling me how much money he makes and what he buys these for, and I was like, wow. So that's what it is. It's basically like one giant melting pot, and by visiting with these guys, you get the most crazy ideas. Number three, activities. All the good hostels have activities, and these activities are normally set up by the volunteers. So they have beer pong, they have yoga classes, they have flip cup, they have board game nights, they have movie nights, they have cooking classes. So all these activities, they have two purposes though. Number one is to mainly get you out of your shell to be able to talk to people and everything else. Because a lot of people like me, I'm kind of an introvert, but the older I get, the more I'm like, I'll just like grab the guy that's like kind of by himself and I'll be like, ah, hey, and then I'll get him to open up to everybody else. Number two is engagement. By engaging their guest, they make their guest want to stay longer. So it's kind of like by engaging them and by basically getting people to talk, all of a sudden your hostel vibe goes way, way, way through the roof. So that's why I like hostels, is activities. Number four, you're splitting the cost. So I talked about this in my first video to where you can have a $40 night hotel or a $100 night hotel, and you can spend all $40 on this hotel, or you can have 4 roommates and spend $10 each. That's what a hostel does, is it finds those other 3 roommates for your room. And by doing this, it splits your cost, brings your average daily cost down so you can travel longer. Number 5, the learning opportunities. I touched on this just briefly earlier. However, the people that you will meet and the things you can learn from those people are incredible. incredible. Like I have actually met other photographers, other videographers, and we'll talk about our cameras, we'll go through settings, and I actually personally have taught multiple photography classes in hostels. I basically do it just as, I guess you could call it charity, but it's basically but I do it mainly because I was told once that you never actually fully understand something until you learn it. So all of a sudden, by me teaching photography classes and going over bokeh and aperture and shutter speed and ISO, just all the basics, it instills in my mind. So all of a sudden, I get more ideas. Plus, I've taught it, so obviously, so you have to be able to teach it to master it. That was the quote. So that's why I do it. But I've taken classes and I've received classes from people like the guy that buys and sells the pallets for the return pallets from Amazon. I actually learned something from him. So basically, that's another reason why I love hostels. Is just you can learn so much so quickly. It's incredible. Number 6, breakfast. Some of these hostels have the most incredible breakfast. My personal favorite are the ones that do something local to the area. So I'm going to pick on Mexico quite a bit here because Mexico is such a big, awesome country. So in southern Mexico, the food they eat for breakfast is different than northern Mexico. And in the middle, like every state is kind of different. So I absolutely love the breakfast at the hostel to where they make a authentic breakfast to that area. And one that does it very well is Casa Takay in the Yucatan and Valladolid. I mentioned them also in my first video, but they did an incredible job on a breakfast and really kind of made you feel like you were like culturally like in it. So yeah, I absolutely love breakfast. Always look at the reviews, because if they're advertising a full breakfast and it's not a full breakfast, trust me, the people that are staying there are going to be mad and they will let you know on the reviews. So check the reviews and find that incredible breakfast. Number 7, they have something for everyone. So by that, I mean room type. They have a room for anyone. They have private rooms, they have dorm rooms, they have suites. Some of them I've been at actually have suites where you have your own kitchen, your own TV, your own bedroom. Like you literally have a suite. And these seem to be very reasonably priced, especially at hostels. You have private rooms where you can share with 2 to 4 people that you know, like if you're traveling as a group. And they have dorm rooms. So basically, they have a little something for every single person. And just because you have a family doesn't mean that you can't stay at a hostel. I've seen lots and lots of families with 2, 3, 4 kids. They're actually staying in a hostel, and by having 4 kids, you can actually rent out a dorm for your kids, and then get a private room and be like, okay, lock the door at night. You guys stay in the dorm. We're gonna go over to our private for a break. So hey, that's another reason why I love hostels. Number 8, it teaches you patience. So being in a hostel takes a lot of patience, and it's one of those deals you can look at it as a positive or a negative. I am choosing to look at it right now as a positive, because by learning how to be patient is going to make me a better person in the long run and further down the road. So when I was younger, I wasn't very patient, but the older I get, the more I can stretch that rubber band of patience. Sometimes of course, it snaps back and I become the most impatient person there is. But the older I get, the more stretched I can get that rubber band and the more patient I can get. But your patience is going to be tried by staff, can be tried by people that you're sharing a room with. Some people are cleaner than others. So the patience is going to be tried. However, it's going to be good in the long run. And that's another reason why I love hostels. Number 9, you have a group to go out with at night. So that is very important, because there's safety in numbers, right? So I'm not saying that all these places are dangerous, but by having numbers and by being with a group, you just feel more safe and content. I know whenever I go out and for dinner, have a couple drinks at night or whatever from a hostel, normally I'll go with 2 or 3 people from the hostel. It's more of a bonding experience too, but you kind of have each other's back. So if anybody gets in trouble or something, if somebody drinks too much or something like that, normally that's one of the number one reasons why people get in trouble while traveling is because they drank too much. Normally, the people from your hostel that you went with, well, not normally, they always have your back and they will always take care of you, make sure you get home safely. So a lot of people joke around with me that I'm like the dad of the hostel because I'm always the one that's taking care of people and stuff like that. But that's really just my mom coming out in me. But if somebody drinks too much or something, I'm always the one that steps in and I'm like, okay, come on, let's go, let's get you an Uber, get you to bed, like just so we don't get in trouble and you don't do something that you regret. But that's one of the best things about a hostel is people have your back. Number 10, hostels bring on a sense of safety. And a lot of places that you travel to, you may not feel 100% safe, but the best thing is that your hostel, you feel safe, you feel secure. And by granted, you may be sharing a room with 4 other people, but by the end of the night or by within an hour, those 4 people, chances are you're going to trust them and they're going to be your friends. Like they're going to be the people that you hang out with, or other people in the hostel the same way. It kind of brings on a sense of safety because I've been in hostels where there is an issue, like in Ireland, there was a lady, she was like 50 or 60 though, and she got drunk and then she started making physical threats towards people at like, maybe it was like midnight or 1 a.m. We were all sitting in there watching a movie and she came in and just like started like throwing physical threats and all sorts of stuff. And they actually kicked her out on the street. The volunteers were there that night. The staff was not, but the volunteers actually were like, we got to get her out. So they actually kicked her out on the street, but luckily her stuff was all still packed up. Gave her stuff, locked the door. She was banging on the door, and they pretty much told her, I said, hey, if you do not leave, we don't care where you sleep. Like, you screwed this up. Like, if you do not leave, though, we will call the cops. And she left. So that's one of the best things about a hostel is, granted, you are going to have some issues. But that's with any type of travel. With anything you do in life, you are going to have some issues. But people seem to have each other's back, and they seem to solve problems in a very, very, very quick manner. Last but not least, story time. When I went to Thailand for the first time, I believe it was 5 or 6 years ago now, I went all by myself, and I remember how terrifying that was. And I remember just thinking, I had watched tons and tons of YouTube videos on how to do it, but I remember just being terrified on the plane. The plane was actually delayed like 48 hours, and in the back of my mind, I was like, whew, we can just like put a pause on reality for just a second and not get to Bangkok nearly as quickly so I don't have to face reality that I'm here by myself. Yeah. So I was that guy. And luckily though, the hostel owner, so I booked this hostel. I looked at the reviews. I remember the hostel cost me $12 per night. For some odd reason, I remember that in my head. It cost me $12 per night. And that was pretty expensive for Bangkok standards. Like, I still tell people I stayed in a hostel in Bangkok for $12. Like, where at? Like, was it like in the happening spot? And I was like, no, it was off by, I believe the SK Mall or something. And they're like, oh, that's like not very central. I was like, no, but it was nice. But I was so happy that I stayed in that hostel. So as soon as I checked in, I went threw my bags up on my bed and I went back downstairs to get a towel or something. And the owner just pretty much said, hey, there's a guy from the Ukraine here, and he is going to the palace today. He's going to Koh San Road, which is like the backpacker hub. Like, he's going to do all these things today. Like, he's wanting somebody to go with him because he doesn't really want to go by himself. Would you like to join him? And I was like me, I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of tired. And she's like, no, but no, if you get tired or whatever, you can just come back. But I highly suggest that you go with him. I didn't tell her I was a first-time traveler. I didn't tell her anything. I think that she could sense, though, a little bit of fear and a little bit of shyness, and she like grabbed me and like pushed me out, like not pushed me out the door in a bad way, but like pushed me out the door and was like, okay, you need to go explore. But so Ukraine kid had been traveling for 3 months, so it's basically like he took me under his wing. We went and did all these awesome things. We split the cost on cabs. That's another great thing about staying in a hostel, that you can split the cost on things. But yeah, if she would not have done that, like, it was one of those deals that it instilled me how quickly you can meet friends in a hostel. And that's why I always harp on people is when they're like, I'm traveling by myself, I'm worried, I'm like, stay in a hostel, like I'm scared to stay in a hostel. I'm like, you'll be amazed how quickly you will make friends. Trust me. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video on why I love hostels. Stay tuned for next week on why I hate hostels. And if you have not watched my first video on what is a hostel, definitely go check that one out. And until next time. Oh, hold on. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button too, because if you watch this series, like, you need to subscribe to my channel. So hey, thank you so much for watching. Beau out.